and I feel this more and more as I get older, is that I often think I'm writing about one thing, and
Yeah.
then I'm actually maybe writing about that one thing, but also various other things as well.
Hello and welcome to Where the Living Room Used to Be, a podcast about Rhode Island's music scene. Hey everyone, it's James. I'm very happy that I was able to reconnect with Roz Raskin for an episode focused on the new Nova One album, Create Myself. In our conversation, we cover what their experience was like making this album, especially with the hurdles that the pandemic created. Plus, we cover the urge to explore new sounds as an artist, and the amount of attention that went into each part of the production. We also discuss their custom Holcomb guitar, and the creative choices made for this album's design pieces. Create Myself is available on March 31st via Community Records, and you can order it now at ilovenova1.com and communityrecords.org. Enjoy the album and enjoy the episode.
So I started recording these new songs in December of 2020, I think. So I'm trying to make sure I have my dates right, and I really should get that more exact. Also, if you hear little toenails on the ground, it's my little dog, my little Chihuahua mix, Violet.
Sounds good. I mind.
I don't know if she'll pop up. Sometimes she wants to be in my lap. But yeah, and I started writing that fall, but was really, writing a lot in and out of that first year of COVID. And I recorded it at Big Nice Studio in Lincoln, Rhode Island, with my co-producers, Bradford Krieger and James Parker. James Parker also plays in the live band of Nova One frequently. And I love that studio. I love those people. I've made all of the Nova One recordings with them at this point. Yeah. So they've also been a big part of the evolution of Nova One.
Yeah. And with that, I know that when we spoke before, you talked about even the start of Nova One wanting to, kind of create this, from your own mind, like you wanted to play drums on stuff. You wanted to produce everything. How have you seen that change over time? Because obviously, like you just mentioned, Bradford and James are, co-producers on this. Has it become more collaborative in a sense, even with that smaller group, or is it still coming a lot from you, where you're writing the drum parts and having, Casey Belial execute them in that fashion? So.
Oh, Casey Belial. Yeah, Casey plays quite a bit of drums on the album. Actually, Bradford does, and also James does too.
Oh, okay.
So it's a big hodgepodge of people. There was a core group of people that played. So it was Bradford, James, Casey Belial, and Emily Dix Thomas, who also plays in our live band as the bassist. They played some cello, and it also did a bunch of backup vocals too.
Oh, okay.
And then my friend and Jimmy also did some backup vocals on Dangerous.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so in terms of the production piece of it, I would say that this time around it was, I always come with the arrangements, but I felt some flexibility in the recording of them. And to be honest, it was pretty challenging in terms of having all of us in there wanting to make the best decisions we could for the record. And I asked for that to happen. I wanted it to feel a little bit more flexible than it had in the past, but that is too many cooks. And so And, you know, there's pros and cons to that. So it was definitely intense at times to be trying to be decisive about things when I think we've all grown quite a bit as musicians and artists, and what we want and what we think are the right risks to take, and what things about the project seem like they should not change too dramatically, but I don't know, stay sort of in a realm that I think the band lives in for me sonically. So it's sort of, you know, there's tough calls to make, especially when you're trying to make something new. And I think that there's so many artists who feel really comfortable making a lot of the same thing over and over again. And this is not even me, that there's no hate to that. I think that there's something really beautiful about staying in a lane that you feel really comfortable in. Maybe that's just the music that you always want to be making. And I think for this album, I was thinking I wanted to break out a bit. So it's definitely like a little bit more grittier. There's like a little bit more distortion on everything. But you know, in this Nova One Way, it's all minimal changes all across the board. But yeah, so it was a really big growing experience for me, a big learning experience that I wouldn't trade. But it was definitely one of the tougher recording experiences I've had, in that, I mean, all of us were going through all the things that everyone was going through during all these years of COVID ongoing, right? So the pandemic's obviously still here. So we've all been radically changed, I think. And so all of the things that went into, this tough period, I think are reflected in the songs, and in I think a cool way, but.
Yeah. And how was it like actually executed, you know, like writing and recording this during that time period? Were you able to, rehearse with different people? Were you just demoing stuff and then having them come in on a, more solo basis? You know, like, I mean, obviously you've have a long relationship with Bradford and Big Nice, and, are comfortable there, but like, what was it actually like recording this, and how was it done?
Yeah. So James and I were in isolation together. So he's an engineer and a producer, obviously. And he plays a little bit of everything. So he was helping me to demo quite a few of the songs in the early part of the process, and even really throughout. So he and I were able to be in the space together.
Gotcha.
And creating together. But I think the first couple sessions that we did, we had some distancing and masking going on. And then that, I'm forgetting exactly how that happened, but depending on where things were at in the pandemic, we just followed really the protocol of what was happening at the time. So, which is interesting because you have to communicate in a different way. When you can't, something that has been challenging for me is reading people's faces with the masks on. And I also love the masks, like regardless of the health benefits of them. I love being incognito, going out as much as I can. If I throw my pink hair up in a hat and I got a mask on, it's like, who the hell am I? So I think that can be confusing and disorienting, and you're just trying to, because like so much of what we're doing is so emotional.
Yeah, exactly.
So to try to read someone's intention, and then there's so much that we grasp just from the tone of someone's voice. I mean, you don't see that tied to a full picture of someone's face. I mean, creatively, it's just a wild experience,
Yeah.
Violet Settle, my little dog. Oh my gosh, she's driving me up the wall with her little barks today.
But yeah, with this being recorded quite a while ago, like to release date now, have there been any changes that happened over that time? Like, not just even with the recordings, but like having that much time to like think about this record, where they're like track listing shifts, or, that urge to like, oh, I can maybe add this extra part one more time, I'm going to try to get back, or was it like a pretty thought out record, like concept wise and everything like that you kind of knew what you were looking to achieve?
So I would say it was something that definitely was started off in a place of, I thought I was kind of making one thing, and then it just, changed depending on the time period that the songs were written. But I think ultimately I was sort of coming from a place of thinking about something that I frequently think about when writing, which is sort of this like human universe connection. And so I think that what ended up happening was I was realizing that I was writing a lot of songs from a place of talking to a younger version of myself, or several different younger versions of myself over time. And so yeah. And then it was also written really over a year and a half. So I think that now, like that perspective that I have now of speaking to a younger version of myself is a more recent realization.
Oh, okay.
So I think that when and I feel this more and more as I get older, is that I often think I'm writing about one thing, and then I'm actually maybe writing about that one thing, but also various other things as well.
Yeah.
So I think that, it's hard sometimes to pinpoint one thing exactly, but I would say that a lot of those bits are in there.
Yeah. Okay. And that's what kind of lends to the album title as well. The like talking to your younger self. Is that what you?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. Well, because that title in particular, I don't know if this is something that other people identify with, but when I was a young person, I was very shy and I was just very quiet, which a lot of people don't believe now when they meet me. They're like, there's no way in hell that's actually the way you ever were. But so I think that for years, I thought that it would just be so cool to picture myself as an older person who was independent, who had like an independent life, who had an apartment, who had pink hair, who, like I could make all these decisions for myself. And so I think I spent a lot of years feeling like I was waiting to have the opportunity to like be who I really wanted to be.
Yeah.
And then even in that time too, processing a lot of things about, being like a young person who was a closeted queer person. And now seeing that from where I am now. And so processing that and doing some healing around that. So yeah, writing is so wild and interesting and beautiful in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's wonderful that you're able to, process these things in that way. That's even beyond me as a musician. That I play drums, but I've just never been a songwriter. So a lot of those other things are not something that are, as actualized, are easily on my fingertips to just kind of be able to put it out in song. So it's wonderful, and I'm sure that you're just going to help and touch a lot of people with this stuff as well.
I hope so.
Yeah. But yeah, you kind of mentioned a little bit of like the variation in sounds, the evolution. Is there anything that you kind of want to shout out of this record? Like new places that you went that were really fun or scary and adventurous, or whatever else, of like a different sound that people might be able to hear when they get this record?
Sure. Well, I would say something that feels important to note is that there were I'm forgetting exactly how many songs, but there were other songs that were written for this album that didn't make the record. So, and some of them didn't really even fully come to fruition. So those are sort of sitting in a place of, what might happen for those songs, you know?
Yeah.
And then one of them, You Were Right, came out as a 7-inch with Tor Johnson this past year. So that was a B-side. But that actually, it came out, for anybody that doesn't know what that release was like, it was a very limited release that those songs aren't even fully public yet. So I'll be releasing that track in the later spring after the album's out. But in terms of like cool sonic changes, I think one thing that sticks out in my mind is originally when we first started thinking about this album, I thought, I really want to see this idea realized that I've wanted to do forever, which is sampling planetary sounds. So,
okay. What is a planetary sound?
So like Kepler telescopes and all sorts of telescopes have recorded frequencies coming off of planets.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so like, for example, on the first track of the album, and I can send you an advance listen of the album too, so you can get a sense of this stuff. But on the first track, it starts with the sound of the sun as a synthesizer.
All right.
So so Bradford created this synth out of those recorded sounds, and then was able to play them through the track.
Wow. Okay. It's almost kind of like transposing what this may be, and then just, or is it that like, so just the frequencies of what that is coming off, and just saying, all right, this is going to be like sonically in a synthesizer. Wow. All right.
Yes. Yes. So he's, you know, I mean, he's got an amazing brain, but yeah, he was able to make that happen. And so there's other pieces of that on the album, but a future goal of mine would be to make a record where every song has a bit of a frequency of one of the planets.
Oh, okay.
So that's, you know, for another time, perhaps.
Yeah. Will you include Pluto?
Oh, it's a good question. Oh, Pluto. Because Pluto... Well, what is Pluto defined as now?
I think it's like a dwarf something, or I don't know. It got downgraded from a planet to like a, I don't know.
Dwarf planet?
Maybe, or something. See, this is when my joke backfires. You're like, I didn't know you were going to call me out on it, Roz.
I didn't know you were going to call me out on it. Well,
we'll research it, and then we'll find out how many tracks are going to be on the album. So if you want more Nova One songs, then hurry up and make sure that it's a planet, you know? So
right. Well, and maybe the secret track will be Pluto.
Ah, there you go. You know? I've been digging all that stuff, kind of going back in the day of like hidden tracks and stuff like that. So yeah, that's fun.
I love that stuff. Yeah. You like feel like you know something special, you know, that maybe other people haven't dug into just yet. Yeah.
Especially with tapes, you know, I know that you put out tapes with Self Love Records, but able to do that. I did that with the latest Toadstool album. There's a hidden track on there. You got to wait like a minute after the end, and it just comes on. And it's so
sick.
Keep that in mind for you know, any of your other releases that are coming up. So, but
yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's something that we've talked about actually. Yes. Yeah. I was talking to an artist about doing something similar to that, or just having some general unreleased material kind of dangling at the end of something, you know what I mean?
It's fun. Yeah, like just a quick aside, like Mopes, who was on Strange Famous Records, prolific, who you know, obviously, did that on his tape release as well. Like I've listened to the album all the time. And then I have the cassette, and this other song came on, and I was like, "What is that?" You know, like, and I just rewound it, and it was just like this cool little Easter egg. So, but
yes, Easter egg, yes.
But yeah, with regard to Create Myself, and I guess just generally everything that you do with Nova One, like it sounds like you have such an attention for detail with the sounds, and like everything is like super crisp. As a drummer, it sounds so on point. Like just the snare sounds sound exactly like, to me, what that snare sound should be in that song. Like it's not like pitched too high. Like it sits in the right place. Like, so I just have that question of like, how much goes into that? Is there like a lot of thought that goes into those particular songs to make sure that everything sonically is like in a good place? Or has it just been, you're just all brilliant and it just is good from the start? And just
if
because
only.
yeah
Yeah, I would say that there's a lot of thought that goes into that. I mean, Brad and James are just really wizards when it comes to the details of things like that, like specifically drums. They just really knocked it out of the park. And then Casey followed a lot of direction from Brad, and just some ideas that me, Brad, and James had decided were the follow through, and then Casey came in to make that happen. He's like a drum assassin or something. He's like, what do you need from me? I'll do it.
Yeah, he's like Hitman, or
right, Hitman, right, exactly. Yeah, like we've had him come in last minute for tracks before. That just so happened that the stars aligned that he happened to be around. He did that for a track on Lovable. There's a song on Lovable called Somebody. And it has just this particular finesse. That is necessary. And he came in and just knocked it out. And so, but then it also has his style in there too. So I think that the songs, I think what has been really fun for me in Nova One is there's a lot of people that come in and out of the project. And for anybody that's not familiar with it, like the band essentially works as a collective of players that I lead. So, because I'm obviously writing the material and I'm like visualizing everything, but what's really fun in terms of the recordings and playing live is there's frequently different people playing within the written parts, but there are also, I really enjoy people doing, their thing with the parts. So, it's very much Casey Belial playing on Dangerous, and so, but there is a lot of thought that goes into all those bits and pieces. And I think that I feel lucky to be able to work with people like Brad and James that are very focused on what might feel like minutia to other people, that is just like really essential to making these songs what they are. something that we did on this album that was way more focused than it had been in past recordings was James was the vocal producer on the album. So he and I spent hours and hours recording vocals. And so layers and layers you might hear, I mean, on a lot of the tracks on the album, there's layers and layers of harmonies and low harmonies and higher harmonies. And we were so detailed with those things. And James is really good at that process because he's so incredibly patient. And even when I'm not as patient, and so
why were you like, that's good enough? I did it. Right. I said the words. Yeah.
well, you know, I think maybe in the past I would be a little bit more like that, but I think I've actually become more. I think I've learned a lot from him. About that, and I mean, sometimes it can, you know, drive you up the wall, like how focused you can get on some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think hearing the tracks back now, it really feels special, the amount of time that we put into that.
Mm-hmm. And was it to like get the quote unquote perfect take, or was it to get like a lot of these layers and to combine them, or was it a mixture of both, or like what was the like theory behind so much of that?
Yeah, well, I think that, so the perfect take is an interesting concept because it's something different to everybody, you know, like for example, another moment that had a really big conversation around it in terms of vocal stuff was actually on the last album, on the song Lovable. There's a note that I sing after the bridge, and it's like maybe one of the most intense feeling notes on that album. And we were going through maybe 3 takes of it, all of us trying to decide what was the most effective.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like things like that, like what, like they were all within good pitch. But there's a lot of moments like that on this album, even more so, of sort of like, okay, so the pitch is there, but is the approach what we want it to be? And is the feeling there enough?
Yeah.
And this is like, we're like chopping things into bits and pieces, you know what I mean? So, and there's, I think that process is so magical to me, to be able to, bring the fine tooth comb in and then really, make it work the way you want it to. And, and there's like some tracks, like there's a track on the newest album that's about my grandfather. And I had to take the vocals for that a couple different times in different sessions because I was crying through a lot of it. I was you know, having to take breaks and trying to figure out what of that is usable, because like, you know, as much as it feels genuine and authentic in the moment to me, to be sobbing over a track, it like does not translate to the listener if I'm just like sobbing through a song. You know? So trying to figure out like what moments are working and what moments are not, and what's anyway. So I could go on all day about it, really. No, but that's really interesting to hear. And definitely want to listen back with a different set of ears to this album that, you know, Lovable, that I've heard, and then with the new album Create Myself. And but I mean, you talked a little bit about some of the like aesthetics of this as well. And I know that Rich Ferry did the cover photo, who's someone that you've worked with quite a bit with photography and has done some videos for you. Can you talk about working with him and his work, and, you know, just like some of the overall, you know, artistic concepts that went into Create Myself? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been sort of obsessed with that particular photo that we're using for the album artwork for a couple different reasons. One is I love how Jewish my nose looks. I love that I just look so Semitic in it. I think that's like a part of my own self-love journey is like, that's, people get nose jobs on noses like mine, and like to be able to come to like really love my face has been a journey in itself. So to have a photo on a cover that I probably would have never ever okayed in my life, 10 years ago, feels like my own personal accomplishment in accepting who I am,
Yeah.
And I love Rich so much. We have, actually, so the creative relationship that I have with Rich Ferry is also with someone named Jared Blinkhorn, who is a very old friend of Rich's, who has worked on all of these projects with us too, as like the third, almost, quiet person in the mix. Although I wouldn't say he's a quiet guy by any means. But he has absolutely been a big part of like the video that we did for Your Girl, which was the first music video that we did. And then Violet Dreams. And even before that with the Rice Cakes, I did a video with them, which was one of the first really special ones for me because it was this pure collaboration where I had this concept and was helping to direct the process. And so Rich has been there since the beginning in terms of capturing the development of the aesthetic of the band. And actually in the Your Girl video, it's the first time that the costumes of Nova One were debuted. And then it was soon after that I decided that it would be fun for us just to wear them live
to stay with the peach wigs and the black clothes, and but so and then he and I have a possible other creation in the works too. We'll see what happens. But for this release, I put out, I guess almost like a mini music video for the song Dangerous that was filmed by my friend Erica Sutherland, who is a filmmaker and a musician and just one of my dear friends, a really, really amazing creative person. So, and she also made a music video for a song called Feeling Ugly that was from the last album too. So she and I have worked together before, and I love her. I love her brain. So, nice.
But
are there any other like music videos on the horizon for this album?
Yes. So there are some things that I don't want to say too much because we'll see what happens, but but there's, but there will be some other things.
Cool. I figured so. You're very good at doing all of that stuff. So
thank you. It's fun for me. It really is. It's such an exciting, like I at some point in my life, I will dedicate more time to film. I'm someone who really enjoys watching film. I just dig the whole process. I think editing is, it just all lighting. Nice. It's just the coolest.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see what else you got.
Thank you.
But also kind of in that realm, you worked with Rich on a Holcomb guitar video project, your episode 1. So I kind of wanted to talk about your guitar, like you have a custom Holcomb guitar, which is made in Rhode Island, correct? By, is it Nick is the owner, correct? Can you talk a little bit about that? And then, just how much that plays overall into your sound.
Yeah. Well, so Nick Holcomb, I love him. So he wrote to me, I guess it would have been in 2016 or 17, about building me a guitar completely out of the blue. And actually at the time, and I would have to ask him, but I wasn't even playing all that much guitar live. I was sometimes playing it, and I have played for years, but it wasn't a big part of Roz and the Rice Cakes in particular. And for anybody that doesn't know that project, I played keys primarily in that band. So it was definitely an unexpected prompt. And I also thought that maybe it was a joke for a second, because I was like, why would someone want to make me a guitar? Like, it doesn't really make sense. I'm not like a guitar person per se. And so we met up and we chatted, and it was real. And we had a bunch of meetings about it, and shared a lot of different ideas about what it could look like and sound like. And he was very open to me guiding a bit of that process too. And that I was saying, that if this is, I very much said, if this is something I'm going to play live, like if this is going to be my guitar, I would love to be able to have it represent me in the ways that I want it to. If you're open to that and having that be collaborative. So I think that, I think a big part of my life over like the last 6 years or so has been realizing how much involvement I have to have in everything that it is that I'm making. So like for years I would, throw to somebody else to direct a video, or throw to somebody else to do this or to do that. And there is so much value in that. And I am a big fan of so many artists that I've worked with over the years, and seeing their standalone vision is really special in itself. But I think with everything related to Nova One, for the most part, I feel like it has to have some bit of me in it to have it make sense for me to like really push it and be walking the walk with it, and be really proud of the thing that I'm making. If it's in relation to the music that I'm making, And so, so Nick was so great about sending me all the different sketches of things, and I sent him a bunch of guitars that I really loved from over the years, and talked a lot about the sound. And it's become such a big part of the Nova One sound to me. So I wrote a lot of I've written a lot of the songs for the band on that guitar, recorded on every album with that guitar at some point, although I've used different guitars at Big Nice Studio too. But it's like I honestly love it so much, and I am a little scared to bring it on the road because I love it so much. So I'm trying to figure out a second guitar, because it's really like it's annoying how special it is to me.
I hear you. I could only imagine of just having that, of just being caught between of like, this is really important to my sound, but if someone just, bumps it off the stage or something like that, then
yes. Yeah. or like God forbid, shit's stolen out of my car. And I am, I'm a big advocate of taking everything out of the van. Of that kind of value at the end of the night. So I'm really good about that. So I'm not so much nervous about that part of it, but you just never know. So But then you also can't live in fear, right? So like, what
do we do?
It definitely feels, a little freaky, a little delicate, but
yeah. Well, I don't want to let you go before we talk about Hot Boys, since I keep dropping the ball on not talking about Hot Boys. So that is a band that you were in with Sarah Greenwell and Kate Jones. Can you talk a little bit more about that, and just how that band came together, and everything about that?
Yes. So that band was very much foundational in terms of so much of the person that I think I've become, and the kind of writing that I do. And a lot of Nova One songs were written around that period of time. Like, we workshopped a lot of stuff together, in that band. So I was living in an apartment on the West End here in Providence, and a bunch of my roommates moved out onto different things, to different schools and stuff like that. And so we had a bunch of open space in this apartment, and I ran into Sarah, who I've known for years, but never knew particularly well. Like, she and I were by no means good friends when we reconnected. And she jokingly said to me at a bar, like, "Hey, you want to live together?" And I was like, whoa, maybe.
Yeah.
And so she came and checked out the apartment, and that was it. So she started living with me. And then soon after that, Kate Jones was looking for a new place. And then that worked out. And so the three of us, like, I knew Kate from playing some shows with her in the same way that I knew Sarah, but, we weren't hanging out at all. And we became incredibly close. And it was one of the highlights of my life, I think. In terms of not only just like the friendships, but they're both really, really gifted writers and really exceptional singers, harmonizers. And so, there was this attic space that I actually used to throw some shows at. I don't know if you would have come to one of them at some point, but so that was my studio space that I shared with a couple other artists. And so we would practice there. And the acoustics in there are stunning. So you have that too. So I have like a lot of demo recordings of us practicing things in there. And so, we all wrote for that. And it was just a really, incredible experience. Being in that band together, playing shows together. And they're both two of my best buddies still. And they're both putting out amazing music right now, continuing to do that right now. I admire both of them, love them both so much.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad that we got to at least shout it out. 'Cause it was a cool project and reunion, Roz? I don't know.
I mean, we talk about it every now and then, we'll see what happens. I mean, it would be, I mean, sometimes I think about that band and I'm like, it was just so sick. It was just so rad. It was a time and a place that just everything came together in this way that like could never be replicated. It was really, wow.
Nice.
Good people. I feel so lucky to have brought them both into that house at the same time. It was just the best.
Nice. Yeah, it's cool sometimes looking back and just seeing those, like, if you want to call it serendipitous moments where things just kind of click and they just help, bring you to like another level or just, it's wonderful. And it's cool to hear that. So, but you're heading out on tour with Boy Scott and have a series of dates, ending with a release show here in Providence at the Columbus Theater. Can you talk a little bit about what you're looking forward to with that? And then, even just a little bit more of what's going on with the release show. Anything special you've got planned there?
Yeah. So let's see. So I'm really excited to get back on the road. I haven't done a string of dates quite like this since before COVID. So it'll be really fun to get in the van with everybody and go city to city. I love traveling. I love touring. Yeah. Boy Scott is, they're just really, really sweet, lovely people and have been really fun to organize the tour with. They've done the majority of that organizing and are really kind to bring us along for the ride. And I like their music a lot. I think they're a very cool band. I'm excited to hear them play every night. And and then we're hitting some new cities for us.
Oh, nice.
Like we were supposed to play in Burlington the winter of 2020, and that show got canceled because of a blizzard.
Sounds about right.
Right. Actually, I'll say that the show wasn't canceled, but we couldn't make it because of the blizzard. So they ended up having the show.
The Vermonters were like, "What's going on?" You know, like they've taken snowmobiles there or whatever.
Exactly. You know? You're not going to make it. Are you serious? And like Troy, New York, we haven't been to.
Oh, nice.
There's a few other places on there that will be fun and new for us. And then at the Columbus, do we have anything special planned? Well, I suppose you'll have to see.
You've been at this a while, Roz. You know how to tease people, you know, but tickets are available now.
Right, exactly.
Which actually I should bring up because some of the shows are sold out on this tour. So if you've been sleeping on getting tickets, you should go get them for any of the other dates. If you're in the cities, you know, check out ilovenova1.com for some of the tour dates, or anywhere on the internet, on Instagram and everywhere else. But yeah, get tickets to the Columbus show. That is with Lady Pills as well, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. They're great.
Nice. Yeah. And if we haven't said it, the new album Create Myself is available now for pre-order. You have a few different variations on vinyl. One of them is actually already sold out as well, but you still have some left in the other variants and available digitally. So, what's the best place for people to go and pick that up, or any of the other things that they need to know about how they can support you and this record?
Yeah, I would say that. So just going to ilovenova1.com gets you to all the places. But following Nova One on Bandcamp, I think we're nova1nova1.bandcamp.com, and the communityrecords.org. They have the record too. And then I feel like I'm trying to get better at promoting my Patreon. I've got a Patreon too.
Yes, yeah.
So for anybody that is interested in, I do a lot of like custom playlist stuff. I do a monthly cover. It's just a really cool place for me to connect with people that connect with the project, and merch drops and discount codes and specialty merch for patrons. That's been a really fun thing for me during the past couple of years. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think you've covered all the bases out here today.
Excellent. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Roz. You're amazing, and I am really looking forward to this album coming out and just everything that you have next for you. It's just always wonderful to get to talk to you, and what you do to represent our city so well, and always. And I just want to let you know that doesn't go unnoticed, obviously, and just wanted to thank you for that. So yeah, I appreciate your time, and everyone, please go and support Nova One and everything that Roz is doing.
Hey, thank you so much. And I also want to say too that I likewise to you. I think that you have created this really wonderful platform to bring folks like me on to talk about all of our stuff that we're doing, and the way that you highlight people in the community. And you've got your own label going on, and playing all the shows that you're playing. And I think that the city's really lucky to have you doing your thing here.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I feel that way. I do.
Yeah, it means a lot. So, well, thanks so much, Roz.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, talk to you soon.
Sometimes I cry when I think about the way I treated you back then. Sometimes I cry when I think about the way I thought I was a friend. You told me you loved me, you gave me your trust. I squashed it like a bug.